Welcome back to part 2 with our conversation with designated drinker, Mags is what we call her now, Salazar Porzio. Did I get that right?
You did.
Woohoo! She is the curator from the Division of Home and Community Life at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. I got that one right finally. So if you've missed part 1, go ahead and belly back up to that bar and give it a listen first. We promise to save a seat right here for you. So in part 1, you shared your unique family history, and we touched a little bit about what it means to be a curator at the Smithsonian and a little bit about Day of the Dead. But really, right now, I really want to jump right in. Let's dispel some of these misconceptions because it is such a beautiful holiday, and it's very important to me. And I want everyone to understand and appreciate it. So please, let's jump right in.
Absolutely. Well, you know, as I mentioned, Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is not Halloween. It's not on the same day. Halloween.
It's not even the same day.
No, it's not. But it happens around the same time, and it does have skeletons, and and I feel like that's where where people get confused, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But Halloween is October 31st.
It is.
And Dia de los Muertos is November 1st, and sometimes also November 2nd.
Yeah.
And the history there is actually really interesting. Dia de los Muertos actually is rooted in Mexican tradition, but also Northern Central America. The Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Toltecs, they actually, celebrated, the lives that have gone before them. They celebrated their ancestors in the fall, and this was kind of linked to the cyclical nature of, the crops of agriculture. Yeah. And so, you would harvest the crops in the fall, and then, from the kind of buried seeds and the dead crops would grow new in the spring. And so, this was just something that they celebrated, and then, the Spanish came. Yeah. And with the Catholic traditions,
yes.
And the Catholic holy days of All Saints on November 1st and All Souls on November 2nd, kind of got combined with this same kind of tradition for celebrating, your ancestors.
Good old assimilation.
Yeah, good old conquest and colonialism, right? A lot came with that, obviously, but we celebrate now Day of the Dead and Dia de los Muertos on November 1st and 2nd, and it's kind of combining those different traditions, which happened a lot with Spanish Catholicism and those traditions, Anyway, so, we think about Dia de los Muertos as a celebration of life, you know, and you are celebrating your ancestors and thinking about them and welcoming them back. And you can do that with ofrendas or altars, where you maybe will place a picture of your loved one. And then the other thing about altars is that you have to put things like that were important to them, right? Yeah. And that's kind of the fun about it. Like now that I have a little one, he's 6, and we decorate the altars together, and
nice.
We put up for my grandpa, he was a beer drinker, so we make sure we have cerveza there, and also his pipe, because you gotta have the pipe for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're supposed to put something for to celebrate kind of like the earth, wind, fire, and water, and so you can actually put water out. Yeah. We put beer.
Yeah. No, I put bourbon out for my mom.
There you go.
Yeah, my mom. I put bourbon out for my mom. I put my dad's favorite cookies. Because it was different. My dad wasn't a drinker, so that was his. So I do an altar every year for my parents, and typically it's those things. I think about what they liked, and someone's like, you should put cigarettes out for your mom. And I was like, no, that I can't do that.
Well, we put a pipe for my grandpa, so yeah. Yeah, but so you put out the things that they like, and part of that is also telling stories about them and remembering them. For wind, a lot of people put out like the papel picado, the cut paper. Yep. For earth, usually people will put out bread or food that they liked. There's the sweet bread, pan dulce, that people like to put out. And then, For fires, sometimes people light a candle.
I have lots of candles, lots of flowers.
Lots of candles, lots of flowers, marigolds, cempasúchil, which is like the kind of indigenous marigold flower. Those have this incredible scent and color. And so, the scent and the color is supposed to draw them to welcome them home.
I guess I put out flowers that my mom liked. I do put marigolds out, but I don't know that I get really scented. Mine don't seem to have a lot of scent.
Yeah,
Maybe
sometimes.
I gotta try.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just getting the wrong ones.
Well, sometimes they're really, really scented, and sometimes they're not. It's like a really nice sweet scent. My grandma, though, she really liked hydrangeas. So usually I'll put hydrangeas out for her instead of marigolds.
Maybe your mom and your grandmother and my mother are hanging out because my mom loved hydrangeas as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful flowers. So marigolds, though, I find you can't find them here in like DC, Virginia area.
They're
I'm
hard
like
to find.
looking everywhere for them. Yeah.
Gina, maybe you should plant some of those out at the farm so we could just come harvest them.
I was going to say, there's a hybrid of a chrysanthemum and a marigold that most people call chrysanthemums in this country, but they're definitely South American, and they're like kind of like a fusion of the two, and they're super scented. So I wonder if that's what you're looking for.
Interesting.
Like they're so strong, like the smell.
They're like us. They're hapa. They're hapa
There you
flowers.
go. Yeah. I mean, this is all about mixture, right?
They're really good. I have I use a lot of edible marigolds, and they're really scented and like food and stuff. So I grow them, but they're like a little like maybe that big in the head. But the ones I'm talking about are huge heads. They're like this big.
Oh, wow.
And you can get them, and they're beautiful. But I was just thinking, like, how wonderful of a tradition to just, remember to just do it on one day. Like on my parents' birthdays, we always do those kind of things. We have like my father's favorite dinner or my mother's favorite dinner with my kids. We talk about them on the day that they on their birthdays. But I never thought about like doing that for them and like teaching them about like, more of their great grandparents and stuff. They don't know their great grandparents. It's just such a beautiful way to tell the story and the kids to remember, because, ancestors die, the memories die with them with the last generation that can remember them.
Yeah.
So I find it very fascinating to do it like that.
Yeah, I always put a picture up, especially because a lot of people would not know my parents. And I have some people who are in another religion in my family that they like, oh, it's Satan. I'm like, okay, whatever. No. And I'm like, no, it's because I always say it's welcoming back the people who loved you in life and that they still love you even though they're not here with you.
That's
that you bring
beautiful.
them back into your home and your house again is filled with that same love.
Absolutely. And that's what we do. And we tell stories of my grandma, my grandpa. My grandma never got to meet my son, but she would have loved him. So I tell him that, and I tell him how, amazing she was. And it's those memories that like keep them alive in your house and in your hearts. Yeah. And so we also believe, like I firmly believe that my grandpa comes and visits us as like a monarch butterfly during the fall.
Oh, that's awesome.
And actually, a lot of people believe that monarchs, at least, for this tradition, this is the first time that the monarchs are arriving in Mexico because of their Great Migration. And so a lot of people think about monarchs as kind of carrying the souls of the dead with them. And so, but my grandma, she's not a butterfly. She's a hummingbird. She comes as a hummingbird, to go hang out with the hydrangeas.
My mother just makes noise in my house. My mother always makes noise in my house. She's made a lot of loud appearances, which fits my mother. She was 4'11", if she were lucky, and she was a small little petite woman. But she always makes noise. There's always something. I'm like, what the hell was that? Like things that we had 3 sounds. Like really, like the first one. One of them was my friend. Every time my friend Roosevelt and Darren are in, my mom comes back. She's there she's literally thrown something at me once. We had a Day of the Dead party. I had this little wooden sculpture sitting on top of this thing. It was just decorative. And I was talking to my friend Darren, being a little smart ass. I don't know. We were just joking about something about me cross stitching. I don't know. And that little wooden, Day of the Dead skeleton didn't fall forward, which is what gravity would have done. It leapt and hit me because I was standing about 3 feet away from it, and it was level with me. Like, so it would have just, physics would say it would just fall. And my friend Darren and Roosevelt watched it, and they're like, that thing just flew at you.
Oh my gosh.
And immediately, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, that was my mom telling me to stop lying. I kid you not, it is a true. If Ro and Darren were here, they'd swear to it. It was just one of those moments I was like, well, I asked her to come back. Careful what you ask for.
Oh, wow. That, I do feel like this is this moment where, and I think this was part of the tradition and the belief was that, during this time of year, there's like less of a barrier between the dead and the living, right?
Yeah.
So maybe your mom's taking advantage of that.
I think so. Yeah. So on that note, Gina, what do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to make a cocktail, but also I'm just thinking like, do I want my mom now? I'm thinking like, did you got something thrown at you? She'll definitely get a wooden spoon at me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's call it the Pumpkin Queen, I think is a fun name for this drink because you know what? Would you ever think you're going to use marshmallow syrup in a drink? So we're going to go ahead and take 2 ounces of bourbon and we're going to pour it into a stirring glass. And then we're going to take a 1/2 ounce of your pumpkin syrup. Now, if you are somebody that loves it a little bit sweeter, you could do a little bit more. You like it a little less sweeter, a little bit less. Again, you're making these for yourself and your friends, so you can do it the way you like it. Now we're gonna take 3 dashes of Angostura bitters or something that you might like that's a little bit different. If you have like a little bit more of a pungent bitters, like blackstrap molasses works really good. I just happen to love Angostura bitters and everything because I just think it's delicious, and maybe it's because I'm used to, but I always kind of mix up like 2 different flavors. And then we're going to take this, fill it with ice 3/4 of the way, and we are going to stir it for 30 rotations. And again, you want to stir it so that you get the ice to melt. You don't want to give it not enough stirring. So if you can, I don't know if you can't see because you're in another room. And we are going to put this over fresh ice, which I have large cubes today. And then we're going to garnish this with either a you can make this as fun as you want. You could put a marshmallow in there and make it all pumpkin-y. But you definitely need like a little hit of citrus. So what I'm going to do is put a little 1/4 round of orange on there. And if you want to, if you don't think that you need it, then don't use it. But I totally love it, and I think it's just really fun. A little bit of orange zest, pumpkin, orange, all the things. And then we'll put a, I already lost them. We'll put a marshmallow on. I lost my marshmallows. A marshmallow, but now I'm gonna give you the trick, right? You want another trick to this. If you have marshmallows and you have this glass and you want to put it on there, one thing that you could do to make the marshmallow stick where you want is kind of just wet it ever so lightly so it becomes glue. And you can stick it onto your glass. And then it will sit there like a little, like garnish, like floating in the air. Very magical.
Gina, that drink is delicious. It is definitely Day of the Dead worthy.
How did you?
And then some.
Let me see how you stuck your pumpkin. How'd you stick your marshmallow?
I just cheated and I just cut it.
Floating.
Because I had already done it. I did this before you said make them wet and dry. I was a little quick on the draw. But I love how you do that. I'm gonna try that. That's really cool. So you just dampen so everyone knows, just dampen the marshmallow, almost said mushroom, and attach it to the inside of the glass.
So chop up your mushrooms before you eat them, and then when you start sticking marshmallows, you stick them all over your head because you'll be tripping in another planet. Yes, let's do that.
Exactly. Apparently.
Here's another thing too. You know what? If you're gonna have a Halloween party or Day of the Dead party or something like that, and you want to have a little bit of fun, using these like beakers and stuff, they're super cheap. They're like $1, and they're super fun to put them out. Even if you're gonna do them with like, wine or whatever you're gonna drink. It's just like a fun vessel to bring out during this time of year where you can like get away with being a little quirky. I saw something really cool. Somebody did, the clay pots that you, for plants. They did those for hot drinks. It was very cool, very smart, and they're very cheap.
But they have to be glazed.
What? I guess
They would have to be glazed.
Hold on, I guess so, but I wasn't really considerate about that. I was just watching. I just loved it. They might have had an insert in there, like a plastic cup or something. But I just loved it. I was like, that's so cool. I want to have a garden party with terracotta pots. Now that you say glaze, that makes a lot more sense, but whatever, you know. As I'll have clay around my lips, like whatever.
Well, the other thing is it would eventually just like leak right out of the it would just absorb into the pod. So, but where are they going to go get the tips and tricks that don't put drinks in terracotta pots?
Well, I don't know then. No, I'm just kidding. You can go to designateddrinker.show for the cocktail recipe and tips and tricks, and follow us on Instagram to see the tricks. And you can follow along if you have any questions.
Yeah, shoot us a question. We're happy to answer it. Absolutely. So you're gonna put that in your on the altar. I could actually make that drink for my mom. That would be a good drink for my mom on the altar.
Oh, this is a great idea. Well, my grandpa, he was a doctor of beer.
Yes.
So he was the first doctor in the family. He preferred beer to pretty much anything else, including water. Yeah. So we definitely do beer for that. But I'm going to take this and use this as my designated drink for our Dia de los Muertos celebrations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you were saying that there were some things happening at the museum that we might want to mention. Some new things that are happening.
Yeah.
Happening this season.
Well, we're doing a lot of incredible things. We just celebrated Latino Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. And now we have Dia de los Muertos celebrations with the new National Museum of the American Latino. Yes, and the National Museum of the American Indian. They always have an amazing celebration for Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Gina, you should take the girls.
Yeah, they would love that.
Did you know that?
No, I don't know everything that goes on. The Smithsonian has a million things happening at every given moment, which is amazing.
I know.
I love that too. It's like my kids, especially like they get out of school early sometimes. Like we'll go down to the city and I drag them through a museum and they're like, I don't want to go. And then we get there and then they're like, I don't want to leave. I'm like, you guys are so annoying. However, make your kids smarter and bring them to museums and do all that and support them. Support the museums. It's very important.
Yeah, no matter where you live, no matter what part of the country you are in, the museums. I mean,
yeah, local or big, of course.
And even find the little ones. Sometimes you like in the area I live in, there's a bunch of like little tiny museums that you might be done in 30, 40 minutes or maybe a little more. But it's like you walk in and if you don't learn something, you're not doing something right. There's got to be something you don't know that you could just even the smallest tidbit of history could help us all, I think, just a little bit. All right, Gina.
Ooh, it's my question.
It's your question.
No, is it not? Is it not my question?
It is your question.
I put a little thought into this question and I pulled up my note because I was like, she's smarter than me, which is terrifying. So I had to catch her off guard a little bit. So I did my own. So now we're going to know if you listen to the show or not. So in this day and age, everybody identifies themselves with, a different spirit animal. And you're like, oh, I really made identify myself with the iguana because in Mexican culture, it's really known for its learning, its ability to adapt to climate.
There you go.
That's incredible.
If you could identify yourself as one spirited ingredient, whether it's used in cocktail or food, what would that ingredient be and why does it define you?
Oh, wow. I don't know. You know what? I love when drinks have a little bit of chili, a little bit of spice to them. So I might identify as some sort of spice. I love that you had garam masala in this drink, but maybe I would go for a little chipotle chili or something for myself.
Look at that.
Yeah. And I think it's because I have a fiery personality. But on the outside, it's a lovely color, and it'll make all the drinks look nice and I guess red, huh?
So fiery is.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I tried to draw some analogies, didn't work.
I love that.
It's a little earthy, a little fiery.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
It is pretty, so she.
I always have chipotle chili flakes as a regular in my house. I love them.
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Here's to another amazing episode. Thank you so much for bringing so much knowledge and helping share what Day of the Dead really is and the beauty behind the holiday. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Salud.
Salud.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company that is dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Rodger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers Bobbi and Mike Carducci. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Please don't forget to subscribe, download, and review the shows. Your review helps our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.